told that systemic racism is one of the evils of our time. So I went looking for it, and I found it in not one but two job adverts for government jobs. One was for 2 teachers in Scotland. The other one was for TfL, Sadiq Khan's TfL. Both of them specified candidates and excluded candidates based on the colour of their skin. The twist, they were excluding white candidates and only selecting candidates that were BAME or BIPOC or whatever the appropriate acronym is this week. Now this is terrible. We cannot have racist job adverts. We can't have this baked into the functioning of our government and of our corporations. There are many reasons that it's a terrible idea. It reduces the pool of talent that you can choose from. Scotland is 96% white, so you're only selecting from 4% of Scotland's population. It stirs up resentment. Anybody like me who sees that advert is going to feel slighted. I can't apply just because I'm white. That's terrible. That's racist. And for some people, that's going to encourage them to be racist in retaliation. We do not want to encourage this at all. And it also invalidates the achievements of the people who do get those jobs. Everybody's going to look at them and say, well, you just got this job because of the colour of your skin, not because of what you've actually achieved with your life. It's terrible. I don't know. Under the Equality Act, it should be illegal to discriminate based on the colour of someone's skin. But apparently there are carve-outs where, in this case, for the teachers, they said they needed somebody who matched the ethnicity and the cultural background of the pupils that they were teaching. But again, that's racial segregation. That's a very dangerous racist idea, to say that white people can't teach black kids, black people can't teach white kids. That's exactly what the Nazis were saying. It's disgusting. Anyway, I have a dream. I have a dream that one day we'll have equality in this country and everybody will be treated equally, no matter what the colour of their skin, and anti-white racism will be a thing of the past.
Well, I mean, there we are. Oh, Leo, I mean, that was a very, very interesting monologue that you just gave us there. So your claim is that systemic racism exists against white people, so there's anti-white racism.
Yeah, and I just gave 2 examples.
And the evidence that you have given are 2 job adverts. Do you have any other evidence to back up your claim?
Do I need any other evidence?
Yes,
would you say that to somebody? Would you say that to somebody who's just been the victim of racism? Would you say, oh, but what other racism?
Yes, I would.
This isn't
actually
enough racism.
Yes, I would.
I
would ask for some more statistics to back up a claim, like saying that systemic racism exists, but it's anti-white.
All right.
So what other evidence do you have?
Why don't you turn on ITV and wait for an ad break? And then see what the representation is in the adverts. See if it's, I mean, Britain is 86% white. See if 86% of the people in those adverts are white.
Is that meant to be evidence?
How much evidence do you need, Albie? I mean, it's supposed to be a 1-minute monologue.
Oh, well, no, that's fine. I'm just asking. We're having a discussion now, and you're not really giving very good evidence.
Can you just check your black privilege, please?
No, I won't, actually, because I'm wearing my black privilege on my sleeve here. I'm even wearing a black shirt to just prove it even more. Look, there are systemic injustices in society, and there are some people who argue that there is systemic racism against people of colour, some people who argue that there's systemic racism against white people. I have to say you're the first person I've heard make that argument seriously.
Because everyone's too scared.
But when people talk about systemic racism towards black people or Asian people, they use proper statistics from the Office of National Statistics, such as the statistics about healthcare outcomes. If we look, for example, about women giving birth, we know that black and Asian women are 3 or 4 times more likely to die in childbirth than white women.
And that's because of racism. Are you saying birth canals are racist against people?
Leo, I'm actually trying to make a serious point, but you're not willing to engage with it.
No, but that's not an example. That's not an example of systemic racism.
You gave 2 job adverts.
There's no evidence showing
that.
May
I come in here because I'm not sure we're getting anywhere with this particular line. Let's focus on these adverts themselves.
Yeah.
I think you can reasonably argue that it is discriminatory against white people if they are not allowed to apply for a government job.
Yes, I have a lot of sympathy for that, but what I disagree with vehemently is that those 2 job adverts are evidence that there's systemic racism against white people in Britain. I mean, come on.
Specifically.
I'm not saying there is or there isn't.
That was Leah's argument.
In that department, that government department, TfL, would you say that their recruitment process could be argued to be racist.
There's nothing. There's no argument there. That is discriminatory.
It comes down to
and they
government.
Should not be doing
it comes down to government policy as well. So under the Equality Act, job adverts, these government departments are allowed to post racist job adverts.
They should not be posting those job adverts in that way.
Thank you for agreeing with me.
Your argument was that there's anti-white racism and it's systemic.
Well, Benjamin,
you gave two pieces of rubbish evidence.
We'll bring that back on screen, this advert from TfL, where actually it says that you must be of black, Asian and minority ethnic background. Do you think that's actually okay as a job application or a job?
Yeah, absolutely. Positive discrimination, which is what this is.
What's positive about it?
Is important because you have institutional barriers that apply to groups like black and minority ethnic people. You have.
Could you give me an example of one of these barriers?
Well, we know, for example, you see the evidence that if someone with a non-traditional British-sounding name puts their name on a CV, that they are far less likely to be considered. There's swathes of evidence around that.
Well, not at TfL.
That's why blind CVs, ones that don't have the name, is more important.
So you think racism should be fought with more racism?
What I think is that there are... Well, you're just full of nonsense, really,
No, that's exactly what this is. This is racism.
Well, there's a reason they call you Leo Crass.
Nobody calls me Leo Crass. You're literally called Benjamin Butterworth, and you're criticising other people's names.
The fact is that there is institutional racism that means that white people appoint other white people, that they associate white people with certain skills and accomplishments and confidence and expectations, that they see a black person, they see people from some other minority ethnic groups, and they make different assumptions.
So you think this
racism
is okay? You think
this is a way that says to people from those backgrounds they can get a foot on the ladder that they wouldn't otherwise.
Benjamin, when do you stop doing that? Because if you look at the person who's running TfL, it is Sadiq Khan, who himself is an ethnic minority.
He's been held back, hasn't he?
He's managed to become...
Well, hang on.
So when do you stop it? When there's completely equal representation?
Well, you just said, hang on, you used Sadiq Khan as an example of not facing barriers. Sadiq Khan, quite uniquely, faces the same police protection, which he doesn't get a choice in, as the Prime Minister and the King, because he faces so many racist
I'm asking you
threats.
when positive discrimination should finish. When is the job done?
Well, the job would be done when you see the evidence that someone with Albi's surname doesn't face the same assumptions as yours.
What about Rishi Sunak, literally the Prime Minister?
Well, that's fair.
But Rishi Sunak had, and I'm not denying that he's overcome barriers, but he had the most extraordinary privilege of going to one of the most expensive schools in Britain and being married to a billionaire.
But you said that we need to have institutionalised racism in job selection and candidate selection to combat
did not use those words.
The racism that holds back Rishi Sunak, who somehow managed to become Prime Minister despite it being impossible for somebody...
What you don't understand, Leo, is institutional racism.
Right, well, Benjamin...
You give anecdotes, not evidence.
Let's just say,
for
example...
Anecdotes is the literal Prime Minister.
Let's just say, for example, right, there are too many gays in showbiz, perhaps. Would you actually support a job application for, I don't know, a new TV presenter or something like that saying no gays allowed?
Well, actually, I think stuff like that is really important because television is meant to reflect the country, and that's why the fact that, you know, roll back...
But Leo's
roll
just
back
told
20
you
years
about
ago,
ITV adverts. There's no white people.
Roll back 20 or 30 years, and you would have had a much harder chance as an Indian person or a black person getting on telly because racist views are more commonplace. Roll back 50 years, and white people dressed up as minstrels to mock black people on Saturday night. Well, that's what you're trying to overcome.
So we're trying to overcome something that happened.
White racism.
We're trying to overcome something that happened 50 years ago. Your example of racism is the minstrels.